Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are listening today. And bon dia to our friends in Brazil. Thank you all for joining me today for the 13th of our Colombia CBIPS lecture series on the AEC experience relating to COVID-19. I'm Fenioski Peñamora, Executive Director of Colombia's Center for Buildings, Infrastructure, and Public Space, and Edwin Howard Armstrong Professor of Civil Engineering and Engineering Mechanics at Colombia's Full Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Science. As the events of the last months have demonstrated, we are living during exceedingly challenging times, characterized by divides, distrust, and distancing. However far apart we have been, however far apart we currently are, we need to learn to come together, to be together, to act together for social, economic, and environmental justice. I hope that the events of these days bring better understanding of the injustices that exist and become a catalyst to bring about real change for all. Along with many of our colleagues in New York City and around the world, the faculty and staff of the Center for Buildings, Infrastructure, and Public Space would like to add our voices to those decrying institutional racism in the AEC industry. Today, our industry has a challenging work ahead to achieve true racial and gender inclusion. We need to stand with our Black architects, Black engineers, Black contractors, Black suppliers, and Black community. We need to listen better, to learn better, and to incorporate the lessons of diversity and challenging and distress into the way we all, working together, reshape economically challenged communities. We need to build a better future for our industry, characterized by respect, opportunity, and collaboration. Acknowledging these aspirations and commitments, our lecture program will continue every Tuesday at noon into September with 19 talks from leaders in both the public and the private sectors. The lectures bring people together to address the impact, response, recovery, and preparedness of the architecture, engineering, and construction community in regarding to the coronavirus pandemic. These talks also relate issues of social, economic, and environmental justice to the new normal post-COVID-19 AEC world. Our first speakers were from New York, London, Los Angeles, Paris, Boston, and Washington, D.C. They all addressed the experiences of their offices in relation to COVID-19 impact, response, recovery, and preparedness. We have heard about public buildings, civic infrastructures, COVID-19 medical facilities, and changes in office operations. Subsequent talks will focus on the transportation systems in Chicago, on COVID-19 emergency hospital construction in China, and on design and construction in Seoul, South Korea. Please check our website to see more information about our next speakers and co-moderators. I also would like to thank the organizations with whom we are collaborating in presenting these lectures. They are the American Council of Engineering Companies, New York, James Simpson, the American Institute of Architects, New York chapter, thanks, Ben Brodsky, the American Society of Civil Engineers, thanks, Tom Smith, the Consortium for Sustainable Urbanization, thanks, Lance Brown, the Construction Management Association of America, New York, New Jersey, thanks, Vinny Folkowski, Engineering News Records, thanks, Jan Tuchman, and the National Academy of Construction, thanks, Wayne Crew. Today, we turn to the experiences and lessons learned in Sao Paulo, Brazil's financial center, and a global city with over 12 million inhabitants. My co-moderator today is Professor Luis Carlos Pinto da Silva Filho, the Dean of the School of Engineering at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. The UFRGS, based in Porto Alegre, has over 31,000 undergraduate students, over 12,000 graduate students, and more than 2,500 faculty members. At UFRGS, Luis Carlos is also the director of the University Center for Overseas Studies and Research, leader of the LEME Research Group, and coordinator of the CAPES Fulbright Project on Innovative Engineering Education. He's also the executive coordinator of the Port Alegre Innovation Pact and president of the Executive Council of Business Incubator Hestia. In 2018, he was voted Public Sector Engineer of the Year by the Engineering Society. Thank you for being here today, Luis Carlos. Our speaker today is Vitor Ali, Municipal Secretary for Urban Infrastructure and Public Works of the City of Sao Paulo. Vitor is a civil engineer with a master's degree from the Polytechnic School of the University of Sao Paulo. He's also an assistant professor at Poly USP. As a public manager, he was also president of SP Obras, the Municipal Public Works Department, between January 2017 and January 2018. Previously, Vitor served as Vice President and Director of Public Works of the Department of Urbanization of the City of Sao Paulo. He also previously served as a Special Advisor to the President of the Housing Development Company and the State of Sao Paulo. To learn more about both Vitor and Luis Carlos, please visit the CBIPS website. Thank you, Vitor, for being here with us today.
Okay, Pena, thank you very much for the invitation, and I hope you enjoy and we have a good time in discussing the COVID and what we are living and we are passing through. So, the first I would like to present São Paulo. São Paulo is a city of estimation population around 12,250,000 persons. It's a conglomerate of the cities, the metropolitan area, and the population of the metropolitan area is around 22 million people. The territorial area is 1.5 square kilometers, and the GDP it's around 10,157 US dollars. The city is one of the 10 biggest and largest city in the world, and it's divided into 32 subprefeituras that we call administrative district. It's like a mirror of the city hall. Our secretary is the infrastructure and urban works, and because works we prefer now to say that it's a construction. Works is the normal work you do to manage the city, but we do the new things, the new construction. So we imagine the urban infrastructure project from the planning to the completion, creates and manages programs of intervention all through the city. We are responsible for the planning, design, construction, maintenance, operation, and renovation of the public buildings. We guide physical development of the city. We lead with the new investment in the city through Operation Urbanas. It's a urban development. The planning, the design is made for the other secretariat. It's a urban development secretary, and we do what they're planning. So we put ongoing their planning. This Operações Urbanas is a public development program supported by exceeding building rights bought by the private sector, applying a perimeter, demilitarized perimeter by ordinance. The amount receiving is invested in infrastructure, public equipment, and then housing for people in social vulnerability. So we have here, it's an example. This is the space before we do the development and the studying. So we made the drainage system, the transportation system, the roads, and we do the housing. So before we do the construction, the infrastructure project, we have to remove the people from favelas or from the slums. This is the map of the city, and now we are presenting only the projects ongoing. We are finished our period here in São Paulo and in Brazil for the prefectures. We last 4 years. We have 4 years to improve our political planning. So we are finishing this December. So what we are presenting here is what's going on that we are delivering for the population, for the people of São Paulo. So in the education, we are delivering the unified education centers. That's we call cells. We are delivering 10 till this coming September. Primary school, pre-primary schools, 4. Municipal elementary school, 3. And the regional directions in all the cities divided on 3 regional directories educations. On the health, we managing and we delivering some refurnishing and adaptation on 33 municipal hospitals. We are delivering till the end of the year 6 ERs, so we call Unidade de Pronto Atendimento, and one animal population control center. On the drainage systems, we are delivering 7 reservoirs this year, and Tunin and in China we are delivering 5. On the operações urbanas, we are delivering 4 residential buildings, 2 bus BRTs or corridors, and 3 renovation of urban areas and 1 bridge. This is a chronogram, a schedule, what's happening when we get into through the COVID period. We start the planning, the emergency in March. The emergency situation was declared by the mayor on March, and the new measure adopted to combat the pandemics, like the expansion of remote working, monitoring of suspected cases, and quarantine of risk groups, and no essential activities. In April, new policies determines the use of the mask in every public location. Store and office must provide alcohol and mask to clients and employees. In May, we defined the guidelines for the gradual resumption of activities and create new standards for operation of commercial establishment. And in June, general protocols to be observed by the units of the direct administration, municipalities and foundations. This has been done by ordinance, to explain what happens is we remove from work remote work. So we ask for the people on the risk group to stay in home and have work remotely. Intensification of information to employees, so email, WhatsApp, the daily safe dialogues, posters, newsletters. Intensification of the cleaning and disinfection routines for employees in the workplaces. We availability the alcohol gel to all the employees. So we give we spread out all to the secretary building alcohol gel for any employees. We give to him a unit. Improvement of ventilation ceiling closed environment. Organization of the workday schedule of entrance, meals, departure. In this field, we try to avoid the peak of the public municipal transportation. So we made the schedule of the entrance and the leaving of the building of the employees period and the working day. Adoption of quarantine in suspect case. If some employee have some suspicion to got the COVID, so we put him in quarantine in all the areas. So all the employees staying home, working home, and wait for the 14 days if they have some manifestation of COVID. So if they have no manifestation, they can come back, or they had to do a test to come back. We developed a contingency plan as well. So how to get home? So in this case, as they reach their home, we ask them to remove the clothes to an isolated place, hygienize himself, keep a distance from the people. We make the control for the leaving of the employees, the reinforcement of the use of personal protective equipment, especially masks and gloves, We measure frequently the temperature of all the employees. If you want to get inside of the building, your temperature will be measured. If you leave for lunchtime or to grab something and you come back to the building, your temperature will be measured again. Alternative transportation options for the employees. We developed our new suppliers, managing of production and supplier stocks, monitoring the solvency of a subcontractor, weekly monitoring the COVID case. So you asked for the suppliers if they had some notice of some employees have been infected by the COVID. So we do this monitoring, and we testing the employees. In manage of adapting the things, so we have a asset in the city, so to allow it to fulfill the needs of COVID. We have refurnished some units, assets from the city. So after beginning the pandemic, 11 emerging contracts were started in order to expand the capacity of the municipal public health network and its efficiency. And as well, we refurnish and renovate 6 laboratories to allow it to make the COVID tests. And one case is very emblematic here in São Paulo. So in this period of our administration, the Prefect Bruno Covas said us to try to adapt one hospital that was Brasilândia Hospital, located in the most affected area of COVID in the city, to be adapted to deal only with COVID cases. So it was being planned to be 250 beds, and in this adaptation, we delivers in part in advance. So in the first delivery, we allowed the city and give to the city 153 new beds in May. All the hospital beds deliveries were adapted to receive the COVID, as I told, and 252 new hospital to deliver will be delivering in July, August, and come September. So original, the deadline of this project should be on this coming December. So in September, the hospital will be delivered to the city. And then you can see the pictures of the 2 weeks ago of what we are doing as a work inside of the hospital. And then you are right, we can see the facade of the hospital. So it's a public hospital, and then this hospital must us very proud what we are delivering to the population and the benefits we give to them. So the COVID impact us and our contractors and the administration. In talk about the contractors, from the beginning of the pandemic to nowadays, only 104 cases. So 4% of the work power in our sites were affected by COVID. In our secretary, only 4 employees were affected. So around 1% of our employees was affected to COVID. So the impact of this in our works is was only one project has been stopped, not by our wants, but the contractor, due to the unknown what was going to happen in the pandemic, how the infection was going through, because it was a confidence, but they asked us to stop the work. So that was the only project that we stopped, and this project has been started again 15 days ago. One thing that we noted was that we had delays in supply. So some factor has been closed: steel, sanitaries, metal, and concrete. We had longer production deadlines, like the ceramics and steel, stainless and steel materials. So that was one thing that we faced. Financial exposure of the contractors. So the demand for earlier payments in new acquisition. Some suppliers start to ask to be supported with funds. So we have a problem in this case because we are a public administration, so we are not allowed to give further payments or payments in advance. Loss of productivity, so few employees work is in quarantine, difficulty in replacing the laborers, and remote works. We felt that the productivity has been decreased. Logical restriction, so longer delivery times for material, import restriction, so and potential occurrence of claims. That one thing that we think that this is impact we faced on the COVID. So roughly that is the idea that I would like to present to you to start the discussion. So I think that we can go through what happened. Maybe the discussion will be better than just the presentation. This is to give you the rough idea what's getting through São Paulo area.
Thank you, Victor. It was a very enlightening presentation about how São Paulo is responding to the pandemic. It's one of the biggest cities that we have in the world, and so the challenges will be always magnified. And we are living exceptional times. All sectors are kind of having to adapt to this new digital and more worried about contamination and how we'll deal with the pandemic. And there are some experts that say that this might not be the last pandemic that we have in the century, but just the first. And how do you see, when we are going a little bit away from this exceptional moment, what's the legacy that will be on the construction and building practice? How do you see projects adapting a little bit in terms of space requirements, the idea of having maybe portals to have disinfection using ultraviolet and ozone kind of measures? And do you see these new changes that we see on the mindset of people and on the social dynamics affecting projects that will be provided, especially when you think about the public sector that has a lot of this interaction with the public that needs to control a little bit more and maybe have a little bit more care about how we attend people. The service industry is really reflecting about how they will adapt to these new patterns that are showing. Do you see that we will change the requirements for new public works?
Yeah, for sure, I think so, because even though we don't have the law or some standards, we need to deal with the things that we don't have advancing. So we will have to still dealing with the infection and the isolation of the people. So when I was presenting that one impact will be declining, it will be because it was not in the budget. So when you go through the bidding, a public project, we have the bidding, and this all the protocols to avoid the contamination was not in the budget that the contractor give it to us. So certainly they will be search for this money and to get this profit and the payment back. So that's one impact we have to deal, but we don't. When we start planning and then we go through the bidding, we have official budgets, and this budget was construction and an official price. So these protocols is not the
We
price.
probably have to adapt our tables to have more disinfection and protection measures in there.
Yes.
Also.
So less workers, more space. So the facilities in this job site will be bigger. So that the lunching room, everything will be to be thinking and to deal with the new reality. With no vaccine, so we have to do things completely different. The protocol is different. The time lunch, so we have to schedule the time lunch. We have to schedule the time to get in the job site. We have to merge it. So you have to merge the temperature. You have to search if the employees has some signs of defection. So if they have fever, they lose the breath. So or he have been in a risk situation. If he is coming from a public transportation system, so you have to control more this employee. There is a problem because we have a strong numbers of the employees in the risk age. So how we can deal with this? So I think that will change a lot. Till the vaccine, we have to build new protocols. Our buildings will be more expensive. Productivity, you have to think out to new period and what is going through.
Thank you again, Victor, for doing this and giving such a wonderful overview of the work, Sao Paulo, as well as the work that your office can oversees. As Luis Carlos was mentioned, one of the largest and most important cities in the world. And you were mentioning that some of the contractors are asking, and you just mentioned like there are going to be impacts on the budget and the schedule, and some of them are asking for advances. Have you received any legal kind of inquiry, or has all this communication has been in a very amicable terms in which you are trying to figure it out how to best advance the goals for the project?
Not yet, not yet, because I think the contractors had the feeling to first to not stop the work. So they knows that in January some of these projects are very important, as I showed before. So they are drainage projects. So we are facing on January, coming December, January, February, and March, the rainy season. So they are very important for the season, even though we have to face with the COVID, but we have to face of the natural disasters. So as you are facing, Rick is facing in the US. So we had to be prepared. So we are not allowed to stop. Otherwise, we'll be faced with the COVID and people leaving the flood. So we are not allowed to stop. So in this time, I think that the contractors has the feeling to contribute personal contribution. Yeah. But we know contractors. They are private sector. They are not professors. They are not researchers. They are not. So I think they are going to follow, to reach, and to receive back what they are invested in to make these protocols that we ask it to them. Yeah. We ask it to them. So we change the order. So maybe we'll be facing for some repairing in the future.
Let me help you with that, because there is a very good question from Yanis Zeligax that says that COVID is probably forcing us to reduce the densification that we use on the essential infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and other elements of the civil infrastructure of the cities. What do you see as the mitigation, planning, and design changes and the cost adjustments that were just commenting that will be produced by this de-densification, modification, or redesign? Do you see the impact will be great on contracts and on how we design this new infrastructure?
Luis, I wrote a paper with two colleagues from the university months ago. So what I felt, so that was in 34 years, that was a no presence speech to the students. And in my opinion, it was a real disaster. So I was not, I didn't go through and didn't like the EID. It was really, really bad experience for me. So it's too early to think about what is going to change. So I think something will be changed. So work, we saw that we don't need offs like we need that big with all. So we have a overhead too high in the company, and we realized that you can do homeworks, you can work at home in a nicely environment. So I think that this culture of we call Faria Limers, so the youngers, the youth that they got
it's one of the really pricey real estate areas in São Paulo, you know, where
they was living in a studio.
Companies are located, Fenioski.
So how can you make homework or work in your home in a studio in a 36 square meters apartment? So I think all the industry will change. But we know the things will realize the change only at the end of maybe in 1 year or 2 years. Many friends, they leave the city. They are living in the shore, they live in countryside. So I think we will be changing a lot, but don't ask me what's gonna change. I know I changed myself. So the way I see the things, the way I'm acting, mindset, it's a new mindset, complete new mindset. So it's too early to I think it's a nice opportunity, like I told to Pena, that we start discussing. So this is opportunity, a real opportunity to discuss what's going on. So, and it's an opportunity because you have people from all over the world. So we have our own experience. So only the people who is living the experience are allowed to talk about what is the real thing. So I used to say that the fact has two versions, and we have to avoid the problem or to a strong version, because the version then became the fact, and the people believe in that version instead of going and study the fact, the real fact. So I think that's a good opportunity because we can listen and the people say through his own experience what is the fact, what we are living through, what we had to make through to pass and to avoid and to give benefits for the population. So that's a nice opportunity. So I have to congratulate you again, Pena. I made you out of the presentation room, but I need to talk again. Congratulations.
No, thank you, Victor and Luis Carlos, for that particular question, because we also have Catherine Barbet from Paris, more or less making the same comments that you are making. Things are going to change. Now, it's unclear how, but there are already some signs, and people are, like you're saying, Luis Carlos, are trying to move away a little bit. Well, at the early stages from the cities, but now transportation becomes very important if you still wanted that connection. But as you're saying, we don't have the crystal ball, but there is a movement in that direction. I also have a question from Alexandra Wagner. She was very interested in your presentation in terms of the hospital construction that you did and how quickly you were able to deploy and achieve. And the question that she has is twofold. One, what did you do? If you can go a little bit more in details, how the interaction with the contractor, consultants, and how you mobilize it, particularly since you mentioned that there is also a shortage of materials that may be present at that time. And also, if there were any concerns of moving construction that quickly. If you can elaborate on those two issues, we would really appreciate it.
Okay, so this, so it's building. So it's we have the same layout in each floor of the hospital. So if you take the lean
principles, yeah.
principles, you can do that. So that was what we had to start and negotiate with the contractor to follow the lean procedures. So that's why we allowed us to decrease and to merge into the planning and to deliver in that time. So and it's so funny because that floor 4 we were expecting to deliver at the end of the 3rd of the July, and we delivered on 25. So we speed up 5 days, so it was really fun. So I said, we made a mistake. And why? Because the planning said 30, and we are delivering 5 days in advance. We made a mistake, so we have to learn more the principles. I think that's one thing was the contractor understand our needs. I think that was a feeling of cooperation. So they said, they realized that we need to do that for the poor people to avoid them to suffer more than they really they are. So I think that's the feeling of gratitude in the contractor in that period. That's why they didn't discuss when we gave to them. This is the challenging. We need that. This is the worst territory in the city that's suffering a lot. Poor people suffering. So we have this asset. We're supposing to deliver in December. So we give the challenging, and they accept. So it was like a partnership between the public and the contractor, and even the compliance departments, the tribunals, everybody was very acceptable for this discussion, because we move money and the budget, official budget, from one secretary to another. So we lost a lot of the research. So the tax, the incomes of the city, it was around 9.5 billion losing funds. It was around 2 billion US dollars around. We lost budgets of the city. So we have to replanning all our investments, even though you have to stay moving for the period that's coming instead of COVID. So that was a hard time. So we worked a lot. So why don't the contractor they succeed? Because they bought. Brazil, we have some problems sometimes. So the contractor used to bought all the stuffs, all the goods in advance. So it was in the storage. So it was easily to fulfill our expectation. So that's
but I think, Vitor, that probably the COVID will be another force that will push forward industrialization in Brazil. We'll see that there are other forces, but COVID will, because it's safer to produce it out of the work site, and you can have much more industrial conditions for some things. But like you were saying, we see some changes. We do not yet know exactly how they will stand out, but the burden of the public government is to establish the framework where these changes will take place. So we need to kind of put the signals that will somehow express how things will be after the COVID. One of the things that
that was one thing we're discussing. My mind, I was thinking one thing that will change a lot will the design. So
yes.
the winds, lights. So the design architecture will work a lot. So
Yes,
we're going to avoid air conditioner, national
more
fresh
ventilation,
air. So
less crowded spaces, much
yes,
more
open
control on how people circulate. But there is one thing that is being a lot commented, is that the COVID kind of enforced the digital divide, because there are a lot of virtual work, and so internet provision, especially for the more vulnerable areas, is something that is coming as a major issue on the society. Do you see us from the public sector looking into providing better internet access, and how we can tie that with the infrastructure provision that we have in the cities, to make sure that people receive signals and can be on the right side of the digital economy?
Tough question. I think that our regulation is really tough. So we have a problem of the regulation, and this is a federal issue, not a municipal issue. So first of all, we have to change and make it easily. You see the 4G, the discussion of 4G, the 5G, sorry, the 5G. So we're discussing, we roughly have the idea what is going in this, and the investment to make optical cables, it's really expensive for us. It's not cheap. So what the public can provide for connection is the public Wi-Fi. So we have this project here in São Paulo. So the mayor give to our colleagues from the secretary to give more than 620 free Wi-Fi points. So I think that we have a Wi-Fi wherever you go. You have to have the signs to have this. So one thing is connection. You say for people how to have the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough. In favela, it's really tough to make the infrastructure. So we have the signal is complete. It's complicated to.
There are some cities that are working trying to bind public lighting with Wi-Fi signals, and we have some contracts in Brazil that are trying to work on that direction. That might be something that we have to discuss to ease the framework, so that change could happen quickly.
We have to discuss the smart city we are doing here in São Paulo. So in our fields, so we are dealing about BIM. So the offices will complete a difference. So the architectural engineering will be working together in a completely different way we are doing today. Okay, so. Changing the subject, sorry.
No.
Because interesting, because that question you made when it's still teasing me. So what's going to change? What's changing? So my mind is still dealing with this, because this is a good challenge to fulfill.
Yeah, because you will have both the operations of how we design and how we build. That's going to change, and how we bring people together. Again, there are some individuals that are thinking, and some offices are saying like, okay, we're going to go almost extreme telecommuting, because you have now shown that people can be very productive. Now, one of the challenges that people have seen is, how do you onboard new hires? How do you create and maintain the culture if you have people that are not able to see more senior, seasoned engineers, architects working in the office, that you can emulate how they are working, how things are and how do you collaborate? So those are some of the challenges. I think we're going to see some opportunities, but we're going to see other challenges. That we will have to figure it out on how we work together.
But one thing I saw and realized, we work much more.
Yes.
We are working much more. We had no time to start to stop. So.
And let me tell you, these Zoom meetings is just unbelievable, because people now doesn't think that you have to take time to go from one Zoom meeting to another. You have to shut down and then start again. It's just like
instantaneous shifting.
Yeah, it's like a switch and that's it. You're in the next meeting, which is true. It's a lot more work, more intense, and it goes to longer hours, which because people are taking advantage that there is no any longer kind of transportation. You have to go from point A to point B. So they're saying you can just click a button and go to another meeting. So it's true. It's very intense.
I think the psychiatrists will be improve and increase their profit, because we have no routines. Definitely, we have no routines. So if you have a space on schedule, Jim, you're eating your office, because your office is your home. So you don't leave the department to grab something to eat. So it's completely different.
São Paulo is a very business-oriented city, so there is a lot of prime retail space in there. But there are some talks on the wind in there that people might use the space as an Uber. Like you have different rooms and you use them as you demand, and not have an established company. How do you see that maybe happening in São Paulo and changing a little bit the real estate market in the city, Victor?
For sure it will change. For sure it will change. So the one thing was going, as I told you, the studios. So the youth, they like small apartments because they go to the apartment just to stay or to sleep, to changing clothes, to hygienize themselves, then leave in the morning. So they don't live inside of the studio. They live outside. They go to the restaurant. They go to bars. So that was, we felt in the public sector, we felt a big pressure for opening. That was really tough to stop. You see what happened in London, what is happening in Spain, what is happening in France. So when you open, you see what's happening in the US as well. So it's tough. It's really tough. So on my concern, the size of the unit will change, will be bigger. At least one small office, a private room to work. Because when you work, you have to concentrate, you have to stay. So I think that to give the feeling that I am out of my home and I'm inside of my office. So that's one thing that I think that is going to change. So this kind of product, the small one, they have the time to last.
And I think soundproofing also we have to change, because even if you have couple of rooms, multiple rooms, like the sound from one room to another while you're working and conducting meetings may be a challenge. But I want to go back to one of the questions that our colleague, Lucio Soberman from the University of Southern California asked, is that, looking at Sao Paulo, again, a world city, one of the most important cities in the world, and the density that currently has, and COVID has been challenging that notion. But transportation has also been an issue in Sao Paulo. And his question is, how are you planning to deal with the issues of transportation, population density, now in this new COVID world? And I would like to add, have you seen more interest from the government, both at the federal level, at the state level, to invest more on infrastructure because they have seen the need? Or is still, you mentioned your presentation, housing as an important component. Where do you see now the focus of investments with the kind of limited amount of resources that governments will have due to the reduction on tax collection, and how you are thinking about the transportation issues in Sao Paulo.
São Paulo is it's a weird city. Only metro will solve this problem. But to us, it's the budget to 1 kilometer is around $100 million US. So we are not afford to pay for that. So we had to make a matrix of transportation. BRT. São Paulo City is an interesting city because it's a diagonal development. So to go through the north to the south of the city, you have to go through the downtown. If you go to the east, to the west, you have to go through. We don't have annular links, so it's been built in the years, but not strong enough to let the people to go and be back to their homes in a very comfortable transportation. So the solution is metro, definitely, but it's too expensive. Then only with PPP we will be able to construct more lines and to provide more service for the population, and to last a lot. So maybe in the terms deadline, the term of the one project is around 5 or 4 years, depend on the amount of money and the velocity of the construction. So it lasts too much. BRTs is better and easier for us. We have the cultures. This technology has been developed here in Brazil, started in Curitiba and then spread out through the country.
All over the world. Curitiba has been a sample of transportation innovation for a while now.
So BRT is another solution. One thing that COVID gave back to us, that was trying to leave from us, our fear was the private locomotion. So the cars, private cars.
Yes.
So we're gonna deal with this problem because people don't want to go to the public transportation, want to hide their own car. So maybe we have to shift this for bicycles and motorcycle, electrical bicycles, so things like that.
The design of the buses also we have a very strong bus company here, a provider of equipment in the south, and they are designing buses in a new way so people are farther from each other and you can control a little bit the contamination. But there is a very good question about Yannis again, that taking a page from what we did with the hospitals and maybe some temporary construction and how they are important for crisis moments when you need this big demand. Do you see that we might think about providing temporary infrastructure that could be deconstructed sometimes and used in other places? That's an idea that we didn't explore much until now.
Say it again, Carlos. I didn't go through. Explain again, please.
Yannis is asking if we should think beyond permanent infrastructure, that we could have a temporary or deconstructible
instead of, okay, so I got the point. So we did this in São Paulo. Even though we have 2 big hospitals, the municipality didn't pay for that. Only what the beds we used, we paid for. So the whole and the responsibility was for given through the private sectors, the social organization, the health social organization. They made all the investment, not us. We paid for the service, but we make this. I showed me roughly very fast in my presentation. So we rebuilt, we furnished, and we remodeled some units, some assets in São Paulo for the future, not for just for this occasion of COVID. So we are using this problem as an opportunity to improve our assets. So we did this in São Paulo. So we almost make the double of the beds for ER's beds.
Emergency room?
Yes, emergency room. So we double the numbers of the beds.
Okay. Okay. And you mentioned, Victor, in terms of PPP, do you have some concessions already in place? And because of COVID, has there been any attempt to renegotiate the terms because of the usage? For example, if you had a highway that was relying on tolls and people were not commuting, so the revenues from the tolls have decreased significantly. Have you had any of those conversations in which people are looking to renegotiate the PPP terms, at least during this period, and it may feed into the future negotiations for new projects? How is that coming? I don't know if you have any.
I think the worst one was the airports.
Okay.
Airport
Yes.
was definitely. Many concessionaires gave back the contract because it won't fulfill the expectation. So we have two problems here in the city. Was the advisement? We have how do you say in English? Is the mobiliário, urban mobiliário, mobiliário urbano, Luis.
The public equipment, the elements of infrastructure that are provided by the city council.
Okay.
Okay. The stop bus, the banks, okay, nice. The bike stops. So
okay. The bike storage.
We have a concessionary. They pay some amount for us to take over days and to maintenance this urban mobiliário, and they receive the money from advertisement. So the problem was there was nobody was interested to pay for advertisement because there was no interest to see advertisement because everybody was inside of their home. So that was a problem because the incomes of these companies decreased a lot, decreased completely. No company was looking for advertisement. And they asked us to postpone and to renegotiate the fee they had to pay monthly to the municipality. So that was one thing that and with this money, we maintain other things in the city. So it was a problem. This is one problem we are discussing inside of the municipality, how we'll deal and to make the contract, make it
rebalance the contract.
Balance it again. So that was one thing that two contracts of concession.
As a whole, if we can wrap up a little bit because we are coming into time, how do you see the role of the public sector after COVID to kind of provide services? What do you see are the main trends that you are seeing that you have to adapt for this new normal that we are coming into place now?
Too early.
Two or three thoughts that I think
remote. Most of the service will be remote. You have to invest in IT. So IT will increase a lot. So remote, we have to be more bureaucracy. We'll decrease the bureaucracy because you have to make it more friendly to the poor people. So the simple people, the old people, must be allowed to get through the service. So if you don't make this friendly, how can they go through? They have to be in a presence spot to have the service.
Digital government. So we need to provide better TI and less physical structures.
Yes, and we are going to privatize a lot. So I think that the government will be looking just for the social education, demand that the private sector don't have a profit, so that was, and the society needs the benefits that will the place that the governments will gonna stay.
Buy services and buy provision of services instead of buying elements, physical elements.
Yes, one PPP that was planning, just be faster, that was the reservoirs PPP that was going to sell the slab upon the reservoirs for the private to restate. So we are changed, because in 30 years we don't need another set to be back to the municipality to waste money in maintenance. So we change completely. We're going to change this PPP. That was
a final question.
That we realized.
Did you receive any requirements for the education sector? Because it's a worry for many people. How will you bring back the education sector into line? Did they ask any provision of special care from the public works in São Paulo?
Not yet. We are waiting for the health people to say that we are gonna to restart the education system. So not yet. So we are waiting for the protocols that the health people will tell us that we need to provide in our assets, educational assets. So we are waiting for.
I know we have a lot of material providers that are adapting their products to be more touchless. I know DECA has launched a lot of lavatories that you don't need to. So we'll probably see these coming into the bids more.
Sure.
The preference for less touchable and less contaminating surfaces. So, Fenioski,
sorry. Because of the tropical storm, something, I lost the internet for a little bit, and it came back again. So thank you for keep it going. So that's why this is a great team. We can, adapt very quickly. So first of all, I would like to thank both of you, Victor and Luis Carlos. Really amazing conversation. Really, we learned so much about what you're doing. And Victor, I really like your thinking on how do we look for the future, adapt to the future, even though we don't know how it's going to happen, but at least we have to be prepared for the adaptation. And we like also Luis Carlos for your insightful questions. Thank you so much. We also would like to thank our friend and colleague, Lucio Sobelman, who first suggested this talk. Very good. Thank you, Lucio, for suggesting it and making all the arrangements so that Victor and Luis Carlos could be part of this. I would also like to thank all the organizations that are supporters of this lecture series: ACEC New York, AIA New York, ASCE, CMA New York, New Jersey, CSU, ENR, and NEC. We would like to thank our past speakers and past co-moderators who have joined us today. Eric McFarlane, Deputy Commissioner for Infrastructure at New York City Department of Design and Construction. As I mentioned, Lucio Sobelman, Chair of the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department at the University of Southern California. And we also would like to thank Sergio Silveira, Assistant Commissioner of Public Buildings at the New York City Department of Design and Construction, for joining us. And we would like to thank especially to all of you out there in offices, agencies, and at home throughout New York City and around the world for taking the time to listen today. Continuing education credits for architects have been requested. If you are seeking credit, please send your name by email to cbips@columbia.edu. I also would like to thank the team at Columbia Center for Buildings, Infrastructure, and Public Space, Michael Smith, Charles Cheng, and Rick Bell, without whom this program will not be possible. They are the power behind the screen. The speaker for next week on Tuesday, August 11th, the 14th lecture in the series will be Gia Biaggi, Commissioner of the Chicago Department of Transportation. My co-moderator will be Dr. Nora Elgari, Vice Chair of the American Society of Civil Engineers Construction Research Council and Associate Professor at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. On Tuesday, August 18th, the 15th lecture in the series will be given by Dr. Penshua Shaw, Chief Engineer, China Construction Third Engineering Bureau Group, the team that built the hospital in Wuhan in 1 week. My co-moderator will be Dr. Fang Dongping, Dean of the School of Civil Engineering at Tsinghua University in Beijing. The speaker on Tuesday, August 25th, the 16th lecture in the series, will be given by Dr. Bok-Nan Lee, professor at Seoul National University. My co-moderator will be Dr. Moon-Soo Park, professor of Seoul National University in South Korea. The speaker on Tuesday, September 1st, is in the 17th lecture in the series, will be Doug Maas, president of Consentini Associates, and Lance Brown will be from CSU, will be my co-moderator. And on September 18, the 18th lecture in the series will be given by Dr. Karthik Chandran, professor of professor of environmental engineering and earth engineering at Columbia University. And the co-moderator will be Hannah O'Grady, Senior Vice President of AEC New York. On our website, cbips.engineering.columbia.edu, you can find information about past lectures, including the PowerPoint presentations and video recordings of the talk. You can also find information about upcoming lectures in the program. Recently added to the website are thoughts about the reopening of workplaces. In addition to ideas about the reopening of restaurants and bar space, a case study shows how this is happening in the Black Rabbit in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Thank you, Anne and Ken Lanier, and architectural designer Maria Morrison for their help. And I would like to thank all of you again for joining us today. Please stay well. Victor, thank you so much for joining us from Sao Paulo. Luis Carlos, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This was a wonderful lecture and a great conversation. Have a wonderful afternoon, both of you and everybody in the call. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.